Well, that's the tree in. It's this time of year where we get time to do all the little jobs and the things that we've been putting off for a while. And one of the things I wanted to show you was how I extract my honey. So this is me at the workshop with what we have at the moment. It's not the best, most efficient thing, but it's what we paid for and what we use. And it's what we've got, and it works. And when you're self-employed and you have all the bills to pay, you have to do what's right for you. And I'm not saying this is the perfect thing. I'm not saying this is the best system, but it works. And it's cost-effective, and it gets the honey done. We don't have a lot of honey flows, and we don't have very long to extract, so we have to be quick, and it does the job. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that, and whatever you're doing this time of the year, Christmas period, I hope you have a great time with you and your families, and we'll all catch up again next year, and hope you have a great time. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the expense and the reality of running an extraction unit. Now, I'm really lucky in the fact here that I share one with my colleague. I will hope to eventually buy the whole unit, and then I'll carry on from there. But at the moment we share it and we work together on it wherever we can. So I'm really fortunate. But when I first came and saw this unit, I was thinking, oh, there's other machines out there that are far more economical and far better, and you save time and blah, 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 blah. But in reality, all it is your time. Now, when you're working on your own, you cannot afford the capital purchases unless you have an exceptionally 2 or 3 years in a row, which you don't generally get, or unless you've got some money that's spare, you can't afford to upgrade. But once you've got a system that works, providing you put the time in, if it extracts all your honey, what's the worry? If it does it in a reasonable way. So this system, for instance, works well. So basically the honey is unloaded the other end of the workshop, and it comes all the way into here after we've let it stand. And we let it stand at our workshop because then any bees that do happen to be on the frames can then go out towards the window, and they go into the light, and we brush them off and let them out through the door. That's the kind of filter. And then we wheel them through, and in here we've got a big heater. We keep the room really warm while we're extracting. But the big thing here is that you'll notice these casters. Now, one of the things, the biggest problem beekeepers face is manual handling, and you have to get the weight sorted out. When you're lifting 15, 18, 20 kilo boxes of honey all day, you really got to be careful, because if you screw your back up, you've had it. So everything's on these casters, it comes through and then wheels into the honey unit. So here we are, we've got the twin extractors, we've got the decapper, and we've got this place, and this is where the honey arrives on the casters, and it basically it's deboxed on here. And then anything scraped off that needs to be scraped off, it goes onto the decapper. The decapper then decaps the honey, all the residue drops down, as I've already explained, and then the frame is there. But it only does one at a time. You can put two on, but you have to be taking the first one away before the second one comes through. Otherwise they fall off. So then each one goes into the extractor, twin extractors, which then goes into the sump. Now the sump is basically fitted with some baffles. So you can see each section, you can't see it now because it's actually full of honey. And then as the honey migrates from the far end there, comes back this way, it gets trapped by the filters. And what we do is we scoop out a lot of the wax there, and we then leave it drain overnight. If you do it every day, it's fine. Now, as soon as that float comes on, it sucks up the honey into the barrel, and there you have a very simple honey extraction unit for not a lot of cost. And when you're only extracting honey, to be honest, twice a year, and there's probably a 2-week to 3-week period when you're extracting honey, and you might not have huge honey crops, what's the point in investing in anything more expensive? You have to be realistic. So the other thing is, when we get the honey in the barrel, how do we clean the rest of the honey with some wax on it? Well, when I first started this, I found this amazing. Basically, the whole lot of the wax floats to the surface, and then you scoop it off, you scrape it to one side and lift the whole lot off, and you can even leave that to drip if you want. And then your barrel is clean. That's a clean barrel of honey ready for either for storage or for transport to be sold. It's that simple. Twin decappers inside. They're like little metal rails that just spin, and they're complete. You can put your hand in there and you wouldn't get damaged, but it's better obviously you don't. They then spin and decap the frame, and then the slurry falls down into this machine underneath. You can see under there's a hole. This is basically a centrifuge, and the centrifuge spins at whatever speed you set it. We use about 200 RPM, and then basically the honey comes out here, and then you empty the wax every now and again. It's a bit of a job to empty the wax, but it's better than having a load of wax covered in honey that you've got to wait for it to drip dry. So for us, that's quite an efficiency, and it was quite a capital purchase, that, but it works really well. So you can see when the honey comes out, there's a lot of wax cappings with it, a lot of mixture of wax. So these baffles in this sump basically filter most of it out. So you can see there's a lot at that end, but by the time it gets to this end, there's very little. So some does get pumped up, and some does end up in the barrel, but you can easily clean that from the barrel once you wait a couple of days. You've got to have your wits about you if you're in the spring, because all this can crystallize so quickly, and then you're left trying to chip this out with concrete, which we do not want. Got about 200 highs. You can't do this at home, not unless you've got an exceptionally good garage or something. You need a workshop. You need somewhere where you can come and extract, and somewhere you can actually do the job away from your home. Otherwise, it just becomes a nightmare. It absolutely takes over, and there's bees and there's honey and stickiness on everything, and people get stung. I've been there, and your kids aren't happy either. So be warned. This is the Nico Baticad, which I talked about before in the spring. I didn't have a chance to show you the effect. This is the Dadont Supers, and these are spaced at 10 per box in this case. So you can see they're drawn up, they're nice frames, there's a lot of honey, but they're not efficient because we would prefer them to be these. Now this is the 8 frames. Now you can see the same size box, but the frames are spaced 8 in the same size box. So obviously the beauty of this is you get more efficiency. The bees put more honey in single frames, so you're handling more honey at once. And basically there's a good efficiency saving, and the bees are happy to build. But you cannot go more than 8, because if you do, they start building in between. But 8 is the maximum, and you've got to have the wax built. I'll show you this frame because it wasn't built up. These two are quite empty, these two. That one, the back of that's empty, but this one is empty. You have to have these frames built to this level before you put in the frames. They have to be built first. So the first year you have to put them on 10s like this, and these next year we might take this box and then strip the spacers off and put new ones on for 8s. But we probably won't do that. The reason why is because sometimes we do get some pollen in the boxes, so you have to then strip the boxes down, clean out obviously the pollen from the frames, and pressure wash the wax and everything out of the wax holes, out of the frame, out of here, and then basically you start again. So you have to get them built on 10s again. But that's just the way it is. The whole thing about this is you're continually rotating your frames. You can never just assume that your super frames are going to be maintained perfectly every time. You have to do the work. You have to keep on top of them. You have to, if you can and you have extra, great. You can convert a few more to 8s rather than to 10s like this. But it's not always that simple. But where we can, we do get the efficiencies, and we do use 8s, and they seem to draw 8s really well, especially as good, strong colony in the summer flow. This is chestnut here, and you can see you get a bit of wax on the top, so you clean this off, and then all the debris goes into here, and then it goes into our decapper, and I'll show you the process in a minute. But this is just to show you what we tend to do. It's official, it's the best sound in the whole workshop. It's the sound of the honey pump pumping. If only it would just pump a bit longer each time. "36 hours now since this barrel was filled. Just wanted to show you how I clean the top off. Now, you don't have to clean it. I mean, you can sell it like this in a barrel, and people generally take what they get. And they're quite happy just to, when they warm it up themselves, they'll just take the top off. But I'm going to transfer it into these buckets here, because I've got an order going out for 400 kilos this morning. So I want to make sure it's spotless before I start transferring over. This will be filtered anyway, again, before it hits the market, before it goes into pots. But this is what I like to do to make sure it's clean. So what we do is we get ourselves a couple of nice scrapers like this, but all you do is use those to lift the wax off. And how you do it is like this. You start in the corner and just pull it away, you see? And that makes the whole thing absolutely spotless. But I'm not going to do this anymore because I can't do it and film it. One, I'll probably drop the camera in the honey. And two, I'll make even more of a mess because I've not got two hands on the job. But basically you just lift off the scum like that, and you transfer it over into a little bucket, and then that can go back into your wax melter, or it can go back to be dripped again if you have a little bit. I mean, the amount you're going to lose is nothing. And that's generally what we do. And then we're going to use a very simple method of bucketing the honey out. We can pump it, but it's just for this particular case, I haven't got it all set up. So we just use a bucket method, and the bucket stays clean as we lift it over. So basically we bucket it out, we have a dripper that sits on the end, the inside of the barrel, and we fill each bucket up like that. This is the problem with beekeeping, is you can see the whole area is total chaos. But at the end of it, you emerge with your honey out the way, your honey shifted, extracted, and you can start cleaning up, and then you've got to just realise that the cleanup takes a long time, but it's the same every year. But eventually it'll all be done, it'll all be tidy, and everything will be washed, tidy, put away for next year, and we got then start the winter jobs. So anyway, that's how we clean our honey a bit. It's pretty basic stuff.